I'm Merritt Maxim, Vice President and Research Director at Forrester Research, where I lead a team of analysts who cover, among other things, identity and access management, and I manage and drive the research agenda and work with clients on those topics. The roadmap would ideally start with the kind of maturity assessment that we just talked about, to have that kind of baseline and understanding your current capabilities, and then based on that, determining where you're in fact where your gaps are and what you want to do, and then also importantly, setting a long-term goal in place. That's the idea behind the roadmap. There are things that may take you 2+ years to get to, but just because they're off in the future doesn't mean you should ignore them. So documenting them and keeping those kind of as part of the plan and the roadmap really becomes important. That roadmap then becomes the basis, really, if you will, for kind of how you build that internal business buy-in to actually build the business case to get support. And I think, if you look at zero trust, and this may seem a little ironic given the terminology, but zero trust is ultimately what's going to help you gain trust within your customers and your employees. And I think there's a growing understanding now that senior management understands that customer trust is important to overall strategy. It's a key part of kind of underlying customer loyalty, customer retention, and so the more that you can, and security is a part of trust. So the more that you can start to show how zero trust and your roadmap is actually going to help build stronger and more trusted relationships with your customers, that's actually I think a very important thing to put as kind of part of your roadmap, and that's going to ultimately set you up for more success. You're now tying the kind of technology and security aspects to a more compelling and practical kind of business aspect, which is, I say customer loyalty and potentially even customer acquisition. If you're in a competitive market, and perhaps say your competitors maybe they've been breached or they've had issues in the past, your ability to demonstrate a stronger and more secure environment may in fact be more attractive to those customers. You may actually be able to make zero trust as part of your underlying business plan, and to help grow customers and grow the business and not just protect it. Another thing that's true of any roadmap, and certainly true in the zero trust case, is you really need to align or translate the technology to business benefits, some of which I kind of just talked about. So you do need to have a budget and an understanding of what the cost would be to do the various parts of your zero trust roadmap. And it could in fact be more than just a deployment. It may be an overall transformation around how your security architecture is set up. But it's not just about buying technology to put on top of more technology. You need to understand how and articulate how this technology is going to make your business more competitive, more efficient, better protect customers' data, and not just about having better technology. If you're able to do that, that can also help you better manage the procurement process, because you can then find which tools actually align with those business needs and which ones do not. And then as you're able to show how your zero trust initiative enables and supports things like digital transformation or cloud migration or remote work, this will allow you to better frame the kind of overall zero trust roadmap discussion within the context of the business, and that's ultimately going to set you up for better long-term success, both professionally as an individual, but also organizationally as well. The things that would be common would be a lot of things around, say, budgeting and resource, and understanding what your actual internal requirements are to actually do various zero trust aspects. Building that executive level support and getting business buy-in, that's going to be required for any kind of zero trust roadmap, regardless of our organization. Doing that maturity assessment, and I think also in parallel, where are your most critical assets? Where are your most critical data points? What are your higher value workloads? Identifying, and again, it should be a risk-centric approach to things. So identifying those things that are of higher risk or higher value, and making sure that you're investing on protections of those things first before going on to other things. So those would all be things that would be really part of any zero trust roadmap, regardless kind of your company size or industry or geography. So some of the things that might be unique or different would be a company may already have it matured in a certain area. Multi-factor authentication, that's a good example. That's gotten a real boost under kind of the push to remote work, and so a lot of companies have embraced multi-factor authentication, and that really is a core kind of principle of zero trust. But there's still a lot of companies that have not yet done multi-factor, or maybe they've only do it for certain types of users, and so that could be one example where you may have one company they're already doing enterprise MFA, and so that kind of identity aspect of zero trust is already kind of well in their hand, whereas another organization may still be doing purely password-based authentication, and that in fact could be one of the first things you tee up. And that zero trust roadmap would be to migrate all passwords to a more multi-factor authentication approach. That'd be an example where, based on the kind of current maturity state, things could be different based on what they may have already previously deployed. The organization's affinity for cloud in general. I mean, we know cloud's been around for a while. We know many companies are using it, but there are still, some companies, whether because of just hesitancy or other things, that are not, fully embraced on the cloud yet. And so, one of the principles of that zero trust model is workloads, and that really often refers to kind of cloud specific workloads. You could have a scenario where maybe you have very few workloads in the cloud, and maybe the ones that are in the cloud are low value, low risk, and so in a case like that, that organization can probably put the workload aspect of zero trust a little bit lower on the priority list, because the reality is that they're just not doing a lot of it. Whereas you may have another company that is heavily in the cloud and doing lots of things in the cloud for very valid purposes, but in a situation like that, that organization is really going to need to be looking into things like cloud governance, how they inventory and monitor workload configurations, and having a better handle on that. So the environmental differences across companies could very much lead to different aspects of that roadmap based on, for instance, their maturity around things like cloud, as an example.
Please subscribe and check out more content from us.